godly love. The person who loves is patient with people and does not become angry in a hurry. Does not become easily angered, easily provoked. That's what this word is meaning. So it's taking patience even a little bit further in that, yes, you have patience, but this is dealing with you're not quickly angered. You don't have that short fuse at all. I was thinking about this, about not becoming angry in a hurry. Anytime you're showing that love, it doesn't show anger quickly. Anger is one thing. Anger is bad when it builds up, and it's one thing on its own, but quick anger, I mean just turning and reacting, quick anger to certain things that come at you, that can really cause damage. Listen to these quotes. He who angers you conquers you. Think of that. And especially if it takes place quick. But anger is bad, but that quick anger, when you really have not sat back and waited and responded, but you're reacting. Quick, he says, he who angers you conquers you. Another quote, speak when you are angry, talking about that quick anger, being provoked to quick anger. Listen to this. Speak when you're angry, and you will make the best speech you will ever regret. That's that quick anger. Another one. If you are patient in one moment of anger, you will escape 100 days of sorrow. If you're patient. See, we're taking it another level. This is being provoked. Provoked is a quick anger. And he says, when you are patient in one moment of anger, you'll escape 100 days of sorrow. So, again, not being provoked or quick anger. So I went to Webster. I'm looking this up and just give you the word for provoked. Provoke means to stir up purposely. It means to incite, to provide the needed stimulus for. Someone purposely inciting, provoking you to this anger. And then you have quick anger. You react to that. It's to incite, to provide a stimulus, to provoke you. Now, I was thinking about this thing, provoking always bad? You remember we spoke about anger? Be angry, sin not. Don't let the sun go down on your wrath. And we said, is anger always bad? No, it's not. He says, be angry. There's certain things, there's a good anger. Well, how about in this of being provoked? Is provoked always bad? No, I don't think so. When you think about to provoke or to stir up, how about this? When someone comes to you and they provoke laughter. They stir up laughter. I think that can be a good thing. Some people are really good at that. But when they can cause you in a down place, in a place of sorrow, and they provoke in you, incite in you, or encourage laughter, that can be a good thing. How about this when someone comes and they provoke a discussion? That's a good thing. Let's talk about this. Let's have a discussion, an open discussion, and they're able to provoke or incite or encourage a discussion about something. That way of provoking, I believe, is in a good way. But when we get to the negative, to provoke a fight. You ever provoked a fight? Have you ever had someone provoke at you a fight, or maybe to incite anger in you? This is to stir it up in a bad way. And another word for this is to fire up. Another word was to spark. That's what provoke is, man. They're good at it, just lighting the spark. They're good at causing the fire. So I think all of us, you ever known someone that was very good at provoking? They're very good at inciting maybe anger or the bad side of you. Those that just want to continually provoke. And if we're not careful, we're on that end and we jump back. So really tonight, we're going to see both sides of this. You and I need to be careful we don't provoke. Love doesn't do that. But we also need to be careful that when we are provoked, someone is just getting to us and they're inciting this anger or whatever it may be, that we are careful how we handle that. Okay, so some are good at it, and we can all be easily provoked at times, and I think we're going to see tonight where it easily gives place to the enemy. I was reading this just to lighten it up a little bit because it's going to get tight with all these. It just does, because it deals with our flesh, right? How about this one? Speaking of a woodpecker, Jim Taylor is telling this story about his friend Ralph Milton, talking about quick anger and talking about being provoked to this place where you show the quick anger. One morning, Ralph woke up at 5 o'clock to a noise that sounded like someone repairing boilers on his roof. Now, anybody can relate to this? I'm sure you can when I go with this story. You know what this sound is. He's still in his pajamas, and he went into the backyard to investigate this, and he's hearing that, and it's woke him up, and there he found a woodpecker was on the TV antenna. And he's pounding its little brains out on the metal pole. 5 a.m.'s woke him up to that woodpecker going at it. Angry now at the little creature who ruined his sleep, he's provoked him. The woodpecker's provoked him. Now look what he's going to do. Ralph picked up a rock, he ran outside, and he threw the rock. And the rock sailed over his house, and it went right into a distant car, and it crashed the window of the car. In utter disgust, Ralph then took this vicious kick in the dirt, and when he kicked his dirt, he only remembered then too late that he had ran out of the house barefoot. So you see, this thing just went further and further. Quick anger, uncontrolled anger. Now, I'd have done the same thing, and I've come close to doing. I've gone outside on a woodpecker causing havoc. I didn't break the car window, but I was in disgust with it too. But quick anger, as Ralph learned, can sometimes be its own reward. Think of that. Quick anger can sometimes be its own reward. So you see where it got him in responding to that. So the Greek word for provoked, 2 words. I think it'll help us to picture this and what's really taking place. It is 2 words in the Greek that come together for this word provoked. And the first one is this, alongside of, and the second word is to sharpen. This word provoked, alongside of and to sharpen. The one who provokes you comes alongside of you and sharpens or cuts. That's where they get the word provoked. Someone that comes along, and in the case of the woodpecker, he keeps coming alongside. Some people provoke, they keep coming alongside of you, and they sharpen you. They cut you. They cut you with what? Rude words. They cut you with unkind acts. It might just be mean gestures. Sometimes it can be just silence. They ignore you, but they come alongside and they cut and they sharpen. Now, the love we're speaking of is just the opposite of that. Godly love is just the opposite. Godly love, God's love is not made sharp by others. So if I'm walking in godly love, then I'm not going to be made sharp by others. In other words, what do you mean by that? Others, this is going to happen. The Bible says offense is going to come. There are going to be those that come alongside and they offend you. They cut you. They come alongside and they're sharp. But he's saying if I'm on that receiving end, I'm not easily provoked. Godly love is not easily provoked. In other words, when someone is doing their very best to stir it up, they're doing their very best to incite you or to encourage you to respond back in some way, godly love does not react quickly. Godly love, even further than patience, it does not react quickly to what they're doing. It doesn't get angry. It doesn't get bitter by the attacks of other people. Boy, they're inciting the anger. They're trying to provoke you. But he says godly love is not going to allow them to come alongside of you and cut you. It's not going to allow them to come alongside.
I'm not there yet.
If you can see what I see, Gilbert's just shaking his head and he says, I'm not there yet.
Oh,
Gilbert, I'm with you.
yeah.
Okay?
It's good to talk about.
Don't incite nothing. Don't encourage nothing. Just, okay? Don't provoke nothing. Honesty, right? And Gilbert's saying he's not there yet. We're not. He's working. He's still working on me. Make me what I want to be. Right? He's working on us. But we're going to see here tonight, this is where the enemy wants to come in. He wants you to jump back quick. He wants you to let it cut. The provoking. He wants you to somehow jump back and respond in that way. So, again, it's the Word we got to deal with. And the Word is telling us this. And when you look at me, don't think I've got it all together, because I don't. Just talk to my wife. She'll tell you. But we see here where He wants to work on us with this thing of being provoked. Godly love, He says, is not easily provoked. So when those attacks come, in sports and in athletics, I'll tell you, if anywhere that you can get provoked, it's there. And today you see it, especially, you see it in all of them, but you look in basketball, now they really, I was watching the other night and it was one 15-minute clip of just nothing but players going up to other players and just provoking in a way on a basketball court now. I mean, going up there to really elbow and just, smack them. Why? Trying to get them to quickly jump back and do something. Why? To get them out of the game. And they were just showing all these things, clip after clip of some of these professionals, and they would go up and really just punch this one, punch that one, trying to get them out. What are they doing? They're provoking them because they want them to do something crazy to get kicked out of the game. And I was reading this one about Walt Frazier. Now, he's played many years ago, but he's a very good basketball player for the Knicks. And I thought this was interesting. It says, many years ago during a Knicks-Bullets playoff game, one of the Bullets came up from behind Walt Frazier, and he punched him in the face. And strangely, the referee called the foul on Frazier. Now think of that about being provoked. Frazier didn't complain. His expression never changed. He simply called for the ball, and just like that, he put 7 straight shots in to win the game. An amazing display of productive anger. And he goes on to say, if you want to get huffy about it, it was a great moral lesson as well. So we see in here, he was provoked, but he didn't jump back. He weren't quick to anger. He kept his poise and won the game for the team. So another good example. So love's not easily provoked. So before we look at the negative of being provoked that give place to the enemy, you may be thinking, well, where's the time or occasion when it's okay? Where's it okay for me to be provoked? And I do think, again, there are times where, just like anger, there's a good anger, there are times where we need to get provoked. We need to get stirred up. We need to get incited about certain things, a spark in us to take action. But when is that we need to be provoked? There are certain things that happen, there are certain situations that happen that I'm going to tell you are just simply wrong. Certain things we see are wrong. Certain situations that take place around us, they're wrong. And in that, when it does, we need to be provoked to action. Let me give you one of them, Acts 17. Acts 17, and I want you to see this, provoked in a good way. And then we're going to look at not so good. But I want you to see this. When is it okay for you to be provoked? Acts 17 and verse 10. And let's read this. Then the brethren immediately sent Paul and Silas away by night to Berea. When they arrived, they went into the synagogue of the Jews. These were more fair-minded than those in Thessalonica, in that they received the word with all readiness and searched the Scriptures daily to find out whether these things were so. Therefore many of them believed, and also not a few of the Greeks, prominent women as well as men. Verse 13, but when the Jews from Thessalonica learned that the word of God was preached by Paul in Berea, they came there also and did what? Stirred up the crowds. They didn't like what was happening, so they're provoking. They're stirring up the crowds. Now look at verse 14. Then immediately the brethren sent Paul away to go to the sea, but both Silas and Timothy remained there. So those who conducted Paul brought him to Athens, and receiving a command for Silas and Timothy to come to him with all speed, they departed. Now while Paul waited for them at Athens, notice this, his spirit was provoked within him. What was the cause? When he saw that the city was given over to idols. So you got one group of people, they're stirring up, they're provoking because they didn't want the word preached. But now you see in this, it says here, Paul, when he saw this, his spirit was provoked. Over what? When Paul saw in Athens, his spirit was provoked when he saw the city was given over to idols. So we see, church, he was provoked at idol worship. It had taken over that city. And it caused him to action. He didn't like it. Just like anger, there's a good anger. This is a good way to be provoked. Because this same thing that we're seeing here is something that would also anger God. Worshiping idols, it would anger God. So when we see things like that, church, we need to be stirred up and encouraged to action. So it is right to be provoked at sin. It is right to be provoked when others are rebelling, and certain rebellion that we see against God. So that would be in a good way. But I want you to remember this. In this we're seeing that this is being provoked at things and situations. This was a certain thing that was taking place and a situation that had taken place, but it's not people. So we're looking at two different things. When it comes to people, again the word says love is not easily provoked. That was a certain thing in a certain situation, and when we see that, but he says when it's dealing with people, and that's what I want us to look at in the remaining of our time. Not being provoked, and we're dealing with people, and that's where the enemy wants to come in, and there are going to be those that provoke us. Let's see this when it comes to people. 1 Samuel 17. Go there with me. 1 Samuel 17, verse 26. You remember this? Goliath, the enemy. What's he doing? He's provoking. He is out there and really inciting the anger. And there's a great cause here. And little David comes on the scene. He just wants to get involved. He don't like all this provoking. He don't like what's taking place in defying his God. And look at verse 26, 1 Samuel 17. And verse 26. Then David spoke to the men who stood by him, saying, What shall be done for the man who kills this Philistine and takes away the reproach from Israel? For who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God? And the people answered him in this manner, saying, So shall it be done for the man who kills him. Notice verse 28. Now Eliab, his oldest brother, heard when he spoke to the men, talking about little David when he spoke to the men. And Eliab's anger was aroused against David. And he said, Why did you come down here? And with whom have you left those few sheep in the wilderness? I know your pride and insolence of your heart, for you've come down here to see the battle. And David said, What have I done now? Is there not a cause? You see, here's Eliab talking about being provoked. David's just come to help the cause. Eliab, his oldest brother, when he heard him speak to the men, Eliab's anger was aroused. His anger was provoked. His anger was stirred up. It was sparked right then. And notice what his anger is against. It's not being provoked against the cause now. He is provoked against, stirred up against, anger against who? David. People. His own. He says, what are you doing here? Look at this quick anger. That's what provoked this quick anger. And he just jumps right back at him. Harsh words. Why'd you come down here? And who've you left that little flock of sheep that you got with? See how he's cutting at him? You know, church, when we're easily provoked, you know what it's usually showing? And we see it here with Eliab. When there's quick anger like this, harsh words, often what it's doing is revealing something that's really going on in us. When we jump back at people like that, often there's something happening here. I don't know what it is with Eliab, but it looks like to me by his words, there's something going on in here with him. Jealousy, envy toward David, bitterness, maybe unforgiveness. So that quick jumping back like that, provoked. And it reveals what's happening here. So we see a place there where it's not good and he just comes back at him. And again, you see that this is taking place and has easily give place to the enemy to work. The enemy was already working by the name of Goliath. David's just trying to help the cause, but we see what takes place here. Now I want to give you another example. And this example we're going to look at between two men who are doing the work of the Lord. I want us to see this tonight so we can see how the enemy really loves to get in there. And this is two men that are doing God's work. But we're going to see how this provoked, quick anger can come about. Look in Acts 15. Acts 15. We're coming to a close. You with me? We just need to walk through this and see it. Acts 15 and verse 36. And we'll go down to verse 41. Acts 15, verse 36. Then after some days, Paul said to Barnabas, let us now go back and visit our brethren in every city where we preach the word of the Lord and see how they are doing. Now Barnabas was determined to take with them John, called Mark, but Paul insisted that they should not take with them the one who had departed from them in Pamphylia and had not gone with them to the work. Look at verse 39. Then the contention became so sharp. Remember, provoked? Comes alongside and it cuts. It's sharp. There's contention here. And it says the contention became so sharp that they parted from one another. And so Barnabas took Mark and sailed on to Cyprus. But Paul chose Silas and departed, being commended by the brethren by the grace of God. And he went through Syria and Cilicia, strengthening the churches. So we see in this case two choice servants of the Lord, and they're doing the work of the Lord in spreading the gospel. You've got Paul and you've got Barnabas. And they've got a disagreement over this one, John Mark, going with them on this missionary journey. Paul, he didn't want to take him. He said, no, I can't trust him. He deserted us earlier on a missionary journey. He left us. And he said, I don't feel like we can take him because he just didn't think he could be trusted. But then you got Barnabas. Barnabas, he wanted to take John Mark. He had a heart for him and he's also related to him. But he wanted to take John Mark with him. So what do you have here? You've got Paul and you've got Barnabas, and then you've got that they are provoked against each other. And we see here it caused them to separate, and it caused them to part their ways. Now you may be saying right here, it said, well, who's right and who's wrong? Which one of them? And I guess really that depends on how from what viewpoint you want to look at it. I can see both sides. I see where they would come up like that in their thinking. So I don't really know in that. I guess it's whatever your view would be. But here is the point that we see in this and what we're speaking of tonight. God's love's not easily provoked. God's love's not easily provoked. So we see in this case how the enemy got in there. And he caused this, and he's been given access, and now what do you have? Division and strife. Division and strife. And it's between two choice servants that are doing the work of the Lord. You might be thinking tonight, well, man, if that hadn't happened with Paul and Barnabas, two men doing the work of the Lord, then what chance do I have in not being easily provoked? If it can happen right there and the enemy can get in between these two men, now God worked it all out. You know the story. But you see what happened here. Then what chance do I have in it? Well, lastly, I want you to see this one. It's very beautiful, and then we'll come and pray about it. I want you to see, because we do. God can work on every one of us and get us that place that we need to be. Look in 3 John. 3 John, then we're going to stop. But I want you to see this. It's beautiful to see how God can change a person from that quick anger, hot temper, jumping back, easily provoked, but how He can do a great work. And let me just catch you up to speed with it. Because you remember the Apostle John. John had a hot temper. You remember when the Samaritans, they rejected Jesus? And you remember John's quick response? I don't know where it's coming from, Rex. His quick response to when they rejected Jesus. You remember what John said? Said, Lord, you want us to call fire down from heaven? We'll call fire down from heaven, he said, and just let them have it right now. See, quick response. He was ready to zap them when he was defending Jesus. But years have passed, and Jesus is going to change John from the son of thunder, that was his nickname, to an apostle of love. Look in 3 John. There's this one named Diotrephes. He's proud. He's a fleshly person in the church. And really, he always wanted to be first. He wanted to be top. And he was rejecting John. Just giving you the background. He's rejecting John. And what he's doing here is spreading rumors about John. He's spreading evil rumors and gossip about him. He is inciting anger. He's provoking against John. And Diotrephes said, I'm going to refuse to help any ministers that John is promoting. We don't want to help them. And we're not going to in any way entertain them. And he even told the others in the church, said, don't do it. And became angry with them. So you see John now, he's the very one that said, let's call fire down from heaven right now, get rid of these. Now, all these years have passed. Here is a man that's spreading rumors about him, spreading gossip about him, but I want you to see where he's come from A to B with this. He's a total different man. Look in 3 John. And this man is saying, don't help any of them. He's encouraging the church, don't help ministers, don't help the missionaries there. Look at verse 5. Here's what he's saying, Beloved, you do faithful whatever you do for the brethren and for strangers, who have borne witness of your love before the church. If you send them forward on their journey in a manner worthy of God, you will do well. This is how he told them. Said, he's telling you don't help them. I'm telling you this, you'll do well. Help them. Send them out. But notice verse 9. Because he knows what's this man saying about him. Notice verse 9. I wrote to the church, but Diotrephes, who loves to have preeminence among them, he wants to be first, does not receive us. Therefore, if I come, I will call to mind his deeds, which he does. And then he says, prating against us with malicious words, and not content with that, he himself does not receive the brethren, and forbids those who wish to put them out of the church. Now notice what he does. Son of thunder, who was ready to retaliate before, look what he does. Beloved, Do not imitate what is evil, but what is good. He who does good is of God, but he who does evil has not seen God. He's come full turn. And he just tells them, said, no, this is the way you handle it, this is the way you do it. When this man was just provoking and provoking and provoking. So tonight, you say, well, here's two choice servants, and they ended up causing contention with one another and provoked. What help is there for me? Look at this one John. And God turned his life, and the love came out, and he just simply said, this is what you do. And don't do the evil for evil, and do what is godly in the sight of God. So, and then again, you know the greatest example we have, and that's Jesus. When Jesus was reviled against, and reviled against, and reviled against, what did he do? He was subject to abuse, but it said he did not revile back. And that's always the greatest example. So tonight, where's our help? Is in the Lord. What are we going to do? We're going to come to pray, right? That we would not be easily provoked. And again, dealing with each one of us tonight. Rex, if you'll put some music on, and we're just going to ask the Lord to help us. I'm like Gilbert, not there yet. He's working on us. But tonight he does want to get us like John, right? And make that turn. So tomorrow you're probably going to have someone who's going to provoke you. Don't let it be quick anger. Don't let it be that way. So tonight, if you'd like to come to altars and pray, you're welcome. If you'd like to pray in your seat, spend some time with the Lord, and let's just ask Him to deal with our hearts on that. Love is not easily provoked. It's not quick anger. And again, it's not giving place to the enemy. Because I can tell you, as we've read and seen in the Scriptures tonight, the enemy would love to jump in that place. So talk.